Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday in school. I'm your supreme overlord, Ruben.
And I am a subservient little fuck.
Wow. That's his name, subservient little fuck.
Lawrence.
We need titles for this now if we're going to stick with this.
We have a guest today. A guest?
Yes, we do.
Well,
now, I don't know if you just want us to call you Chris or Bible History Skeptic, whatever you want.
How about History Skeptic?
Chris is fine.
Okay.
Okay,
and
well, we already have a Chris,
Yeah,
so that can be Chris 1, and you can be Chris.
Wow. Or, and hear me out on this, I don't care.
Okay.
Okay.
So, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and the world?
And let people know what you are about, what you do, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Chris. I'm part of the Biblical History Skeptics. It's a YouTube channel that I co-host with my friend Brian. And we are currently just going through the Bible from beginning to finish. We're jumping around a few times in there just to give context to a few other things. And we're looking at it from scholarly points of view. So we're also going to scholarship, which you can see all the stuff behind me. Or actually, you can't because I'm not on screen. So, but
you
I have
are
a
on
lot of
screen.
books behind me.
You are on screen.
So we go through it from scholarly perspectives, and then I produce videos on the composition of each book of the Bible from scholarly points of view and how we think that they were composed. And in the meantime, I float around other channels, and actually tomorrow I'm going to be debating Godless Engineer, the historicity of Jesus.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
excellent.
I guess that caught on.
It sounds like you do basically what we do,
Yeah.
which is great. Go support our competition.
We've had Godless on a few times. He's
Yeah,
a
we've
good
had
guy.
Godless on. But yeah. Anyways, we have a 100 points show.
We do have a 100-point show.
At the
Yeah.
beginning of every show, as we wait for more viewers to come into the stream, we ask an arbitrary question for which the asker may or may not know the answer. It's worth 100 points arbitrarily, and if anyone gets it right, they get 100 points.
And
So
they're not worth anything.
yeah,
And
they're not worth anything.
Apparently, there's some sort of
but-
discontinuity where people think that this show has an intended purpose. It does not. This is a very nihilistic endeavor, and these points are meaningless. Please enjoy.
All right, so I do have a 100-point show question.
Okay.
All right, what year was the court case Engel versus Vitali?
1967.
What's your guess?
1968. I don't know.
The
If it's
correct
before the year Euro AD, or after that, I really don't know.
All right. The correct answer is 19-diggity-2. No, I'm just kidding. It's 1962.
Oh, damn it. I
Yeah.
was so
You
Close.
guys are really
close.
on to something.
Well, all right. Here's a 100 points question. Sacco and Vanzetti are two of the most famous political prisoners in American history. What were their first names?
Jimmy and John.
Nope. What's your guess?
I'm going to say Big Jim and the Twins.
Ooh, it's so close, but it is Nicola and Bartholomew.
Well, at least you knew the answers to these questions.
Yeah, at least you knew these answers.
Yes, and thank you, DB Cisco. Hoyt Odin bekommen.
Thank you for the 666. And as you all know, all donations are going into
A pool.
yes, a pool, and once we hit $666, we will try to summon Lucifer.
Using all of the black magic books that I can find.
Which he
is
has a lot of.
Probably
actually.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. Many,
I will
many
be
terabytes.
sorely disappointed if you don't have H.R. Giger's Necronomicon in there.
I've got the Simon Necronomicon. I don't have Geiger's Necronomicon. I probably do in a PDF if there's a digital scan out there.
I think there is somewhere.
Probably. All right, Chris, do you have a 100-point show question?
No, but thanks for asking.
Shut up, Chris. I'm asking Chris.
Yeah, I know. That's fine.
Chris won. We're asking Chris.
Okay, what is the earliest mention of the God Yahweh that is completely accepted by scholarly consensus?
Do you mean the earliest mention in the narrative or the earliest mention in like
In any historical text?
at all? I'm gonna go in any historical text, right?
Right.
I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna guess it's an Ugaritic one, and I want to say, I'm gonna take a guess here. Legend of Akkad.
Nope. He's never mentioned in any Canaanite text.
I'm gonna say
Wait,
that the first mention of Yahweh in history, in any text in history, has got to be in Genesis, the first book that was ever written at the beginning of time.
Pretty close to what I was going to say as a joke answer.
So wrong. The answer is the Misha Stela from the either late 9th or early 7th or early 8th century BC. It is a Moabite inscription that mentions how the Moabites had a victory over Israel, including King Omri, and how they basically pissed on Yahweh and stuff.
I could fucking swear that there were because I've read through some Ugaritic texts that do mention Yahweh.
Nope, no points for you.
Fuck it.
No, there's no Ugaritic text. There's no Canaanite text that talks about Yahweh, except for Israelite texts. But that's just because the Israelites are Canaanites.
Well, yeah.
They're descended from them. But there's no pre-Israelite Canaanite text that talks about him. Scholarly consensus is actually that he's not a Canaanite god at all.
I mean, I know.
I was under the impression that Yahweh was the name of a volcano war god.
No, that's the Arn Ra nonsense.
Hold
There is not a single scholar in the world I know of that backs that at all.
Well, I don't know about the volcano thing, but the war god was a roamer.
Yeah, he is definitely a war god. Volcano god.
Yeah,
no.
I don't know where the volcano
and,
thing.
Arn Ra's thing, he said in one of his videos that his name was Jehovah. There is no god named Jehovah. That's a
Right.
mistranslation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Yahweh. What it looks like is that Yahweh was actually there's one inscription that is still debated among scholars heavily, and it's called the It's a Merneptah Stela,
Yeah.
and it is in Egyptian, and it mentions the land of Shazu and then YHW, right? If that's actually referring to Yahweh, then it would mean that he's either Edomite or he is a Midianite deity.
I mean, I think that was Romer's hypothesis that he was like at least from like somewhere in the south. That he originally came from there. Yeah.
I actually argue it makes sense also because when you read Exodus, I think there's actually possibly a little bit of cultural memory there. Because where does Yahweh's worship come from when they go back into Israel? Midian. That's where Moses becomes the priest of Yahweh and learns from the Midianites and everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's also a good 100-point show question.
And he did go to see his. He got married, had kids in Midian, right? But I will say that I think that the volcano thing probably comes from Exodus.
I mean, there's certainly like some imagery that you could point to volcano stuff.
That mountain that he goes up there and he's like, oh, it's so hot and the fumes and it's black smoke cloud over it. And yeah, that's a volcano.
Well, there's a lot of imagery and different categorization we could have for what he is in his domain. If we're looking at it from a godly domain, he could be a storm god as well. He could be a sound god, a thunder god. He could be a fire god.
Sound god.
Most likely a storm god based on the old storm/war deity, which was really common. That's what Baal was.
Yeah.
and we know for a fact that Yahweh was conflated with both El and Baal at some point. So,
I mean, as a storm god, it makes sense. There are continuous like themes of sound-based magics, like with Jericho. Obviously, is the big one where they all use their
Where they fucking-
Skyrim shouts and Fusroda, the walls down. So I could see that being like a thunder god type thing associated with storms. I'm sure Thor, for example.
He was associated with storms, war, and then he just kind of like started gaining more and more attributes. Kind of similar to how Greek gods are seen, because they just keep gaining more and more attributes.
Or like that episode of Invader Zim where Zim just goes around harvesting people's organs and putting them in random parts of his body so that he can appear to have human organs for the school nurse.
I don't think I ever saw that episode, but okay.
Oh,
It's a classic.
It's a great one.
All right. Well, without further ado, there is one announcement.
Oh, shit.
So tomorrow, you should all be getting something fucking amazing. You should be getting, it's going to be an 18-minute long video about the history of secularism in the U.S., contemporary issues, and avenues by which we can solve them. So it is different from the stuff that we usually do, but it's a school project, and I was like, I could totally turn this into a video and put it up on the channel, and it is with the theme, and it's just gonna fucking work. Yeah. So that's what you guys are gonna get.
And
so stay tuned for that one.
We've got more videos about occult stuff in the works. Did you order those books?
No, I put them in my cart, but I did not order them. I should order them.
Don't get put on a watch list.
Also, just real quick, I want to address Red Eye in the chat. He said, I thought Yahweh was the son of a storm god at the Temple of Aleppo. That's actually Baal at the Temple of Aleppo.
All right, well,
Hot dogs.
In YouTube speak, that means fuck you, Red Eye.
Yeah, get bent, dude.
Okay, well, without further ado, then,
Yes.
I have the King James Version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard Version.
And I have the NIV.
Excellent. We also have the Holy Scriptures, and according to the Masoretic text, a new translation with the aid of previous versions and with constant consultation of Jewish authorities from the Jewish Publication of Society of America from 1917.
Constant
and
consultation.
The New King James Version as well.
I'm happy you said the whole name. It's nice. I used to try to do that.
Yeah, try is the key word there. So. All right.
So I'll begin, then Lawrence and our guest can finish it off for us today. So
Yeah, if you don't know, feel free to interrupt anytime, Chris.
yeah, anytime you want to interrupt or like make fun of something or
something's hilarious and needs to be pointed out.
Okay. And the Lord said unto Samuel, How long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil, and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons.
So I just want to point out that it's really weird because he was all like, God was all like, yeah, Samuel, choose a king. And then Samuel chose a king, and God, told him that he was going to be, that they were going to be disappointed with the king.
Well, Samuel told them that they were going to be disappointed with the king. God told Samuel to warn them about the consequences of their choices.
Gotcha. So now he is going to choose one himself. He is done with their shit, and he's going to pick one for them.
Ooh, which plague do they get today?
I like how they avoid having an issue with the previous ruling, because Samuel could have given false prophecy, which would mean he would have to be put to death, and also that he wasn't a prophet. But instead, he just gave a really shitty prophecy that got replaced almost immediately after. So, great stuff.
Good work, Sam.
And Samuel said, "How can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me." And the Lord said, "Take a heifer with thee, and say, I am come to sacrifice to the Lord. And call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show thee what thou shalt do. And thou shalt anoint unto me him whom I name unto thee." And Samuel did that which the Lord spake, and came to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming, and said, "Comest thou peaceably?" And he said, "Peaceably, I am come to sacrifice unto the Lord." This is interesting. They've been doing this chapter. They usually don't, where it phrases things like, "I am come to sacrifice unto the Lord." Like, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." I don't know,
Or
because they don't do that throughout.
all your
the
base
book.
are belong to us.
All your base, yeah. Well, I think "all your base are belong to us" is a little more grammatically correct.
That's the classic example.
So, Samuel did what the Lord spake. He said, "Peaceably I am come to sacrifice unto the Lord. Sanctify yourselves, and come with me to the sacrifice." And he sanctified Jesse and his sons, and called them to the sacrifice.
So was Bethlehem, at this time, would Bethlehem have been like a big place for sacrifice?
No.
No? Okay.
By this time, so we have evidence that even after they supposedly had their first temple thing going on, and you're only supposed to sacrifice at the main temple.
Yeah.
We know that everywhere probably they had their own little independent temples or independent worship centers. If you want to read some more on that, it's really good read. Did God Have a Wife? By William Deaver. Excellent book on that. But basically, he shows that there were numerous temples all over Israel, numerous places of worship, and you also find a lot of these little idols and stuff around there. But Bethlehem probably likely had its own little places of worship. I'm not sure if they've actually excavated a full-on temple there.
All right.
All right.
Well, Bethlehem is very rarely brought up. It's been brought up a couple of times.
Yeah.
Would they have had Aaronid priests at those mini temples? They better. They have to have Aaronid priests, or else it's not real sacrifices to God, apparently.
Well, I mean, that's so super, but that would have been written.
They must. It's implied here because the elders, he says, to sanctify themselves, whereas he has to sanctify Jesse's and his family. So
Okay. Just looked it up. Actually, Bethlehem did have its own temple. Actually, it looks like the Canaanites erected a temple, and then the town was built around the temple.
Oh,
And thank you to DB Cisco once again for the 666 donation.
Wow, 2 in a
Praise
day.
Yahweh and his Asherah,
Oh, man.
of course.
yes.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yes, we're. The pool is now going to be called the cesspool.
The cesspool.
I've decided. It's a good name for a donation drive.
Okay, I can't disagree with you on that one.
I can, but I won't.
You better not.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
So it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab and said, "Surely the Lord's anointed is before him." But the Lord said unto Samuel, "Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart." And then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel, and he said, "Neither hath the Lord chosen this." So the Lord,
He sees inside your soul.
he doesn't see the outward appearance.
He knows
Well,
when you've
He
been
knows-
naughty. He knows when
how
you've been
tall
nice.
you are, but he can't see how tall you are. He just sees how good of a person you are?
No,
Yeah.
he also sees how good of a person you are.
Oh, is that what it is? Well, he said the Lord seeth not as a man seeth, which, I mean, logically speaking.
That could also include I
How
don't
man
fucking know.
seeth? No, it couldn't.
I don't
Well, whatever. Yeah, it could. It could. It's poor phrasing.
Hashtag blame the Bible.
Yes, once again.
If that's the case, then,
Really, guys?
like, okay, think about Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
Okay.
Ooh.
I love
You
thinking
have
about
to
Sodom and
send
Gomorrah.
someone down to, like, go out and look at people and, like, interact with the town and suss things out. But if God can just see how good of a person you are by looking at you,
Well, the thing is, even in that, he kind of could just tell. I mean, also through like actions. But there was there was this one guy who was so good, and then he apparently needed some angels for the rest of the job, which is just strange.
Well, it's part of it is that my position is that I don't think the Israelites thought of God as omniscient.
Yeah, I don't think they did either.
It's really clear from the book of Job, because in the book of Job as well, you have a similar thing happening. A lot of scholars have actually attempted to say that the introduction of Satan is actually from the Persian era. I think it's original, and the reason being is because it actually the way Satan acts in it is he's acting as God's eyes and ears on earth. That's why God asks him, "Where have you been about?" And he's like, "To and fro among the peoples of the earth." And he's basically going down there and listening and testing to see who's faithful and who's not, and then reporting back to God.
So I'm not sure about the Hebrew, but does it say Satan in Hebrew, or does it say something else?
Hashatan, yeah,
Okay.
the Satan. It's one of only two books where the word Satan is used with the definite article. So we're talking about a specific character, the Satan.
Okay.
in that.
I'm
The only other case that occurs is in the book of Zechariah.
I'm pretty sure that in Job, though, and we haven't gotten to Job yet
Not
in
yet.
the show, but I'm pretty sure that in Job, Satan isn't, like, necessarily even a bad guy, though.
No, he's not. He's doing everything under the command of Yahweh,
Yeah.
under Yahweh's authority.
And as we all know, Job is the oldest book in the Bible.
I have a video
I-
on that.
hold on.
I will
I-
fight people over it.
I specifically said that to make you angry.
I know you did. It ticks me off. I'm desperately trying to get a hold of Aaron Ross so I can talk to him about that nonsense.
I mean, I could get you in touch with Aaron. He's a friend.
Yeah,
so,
we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
We can do anything.
Yeah, we're
You're God?
superheroes.
Yes.
Basically.
But I also hate Iron Chariots.
Oh, yeah. Fucking chariots, man. I can't stand that shit. That's my one weakness.
Goddamn iron chariots, motherfuckers.
All right. Then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel. He said, "Neither hath the Lord chosen this." Then Jesse made Shammah to pass by and said, "Neither hath the Lord chosen this." Then Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, "The Lord hath not chosen these." And Samuel said unto Jesse, "Are here all thy children?" And he said, "There remaineth yet the youngest, and behold!"
Behold!
No.
You gotta shout "Behold," Chris, when we have "Behold." So
did.
shout "Behold."
Okay. Behold!
Thank you.
Excellent. He keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, "Send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither." And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to.
What the
And
hell?
he said, "Arise, anoint him, for this is he." Then, oh yeah, that was my Saul voice, not the
yeah,
Samuel
that was your
voice.
Saul voice.
Yeah. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul.
I just want to point this out, and it's really weird that this book has so much emphasis on how these people look.
Yeah.
Like, it's just strange that they're like, oh, this guy was handsome, and this guy's really tall, and beautiful eyes, and it's just so fuckable.
Well,
What the hell, Lawrence?
I think maybe, depending on when this was written. So one of the first dialogues that Plato wrote was Charmides, and it is about beauty and goodness of the soul being necessary for true beauty. And, like, if those concepts are around, it makes sense in the Greek civilization. Maybe they would identify a healthy child, therefore one which can grow to be virtuous.
Sure, but I'm pretty sure this was written before Hellenization.
Are you sure, though?
Yeah, but the Deuteronomistic history is probably written post-exile, probably close around the Persian era, maybe a little bit before the exile as well. Specifically, the Ark narrative is probably the oldest, and there's some that have actually dated it to a pre-Davidic era. So,
Wow. I don't know if I go that far.
Obviously, this is post-Davidic.
right.
Yeah, way.
Because it talks about David.
Yeah.
All right, so there's an interesting line here. And Saul's servants said to him, the previous one, 14. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. And Saul's servants said to him, Behold!
We did this already.
Behold.
Now an evil spirit from God troubleth thee. So, like, it would fit earlier on in the chapter, right, where they're talking about him mourning for Saul. But then all this stuff happens, and now he's not mourning for Saul. He has an evil spirit from the Lord, which is troubling him about Saul.
I mean, mine says harmful, so not quite sure what that's supposed to mean.
Means it'll hurt you.
I mean,
Well, I know what harmful means, but I'm saying that I don't know which one is the correct one or the more correct one,
evil or harmful.
because those would be different. Okay, well, either way, we can continue.
All right. Let our Lord now command thy servants, which are before thee, to seek out a man who is a cunning player on a harp. And it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit from God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. And Saul said to his servants, Provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. And then answered one of the servants, and said, Behold,
Behold.
I have seen a son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him.
So hold on. I want to point this out. This is because I just noticed this. So mine says lyre instead of harp.
Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing. I actually did. I used to love music history, so I actually wrote a paper on the mechanics of the lyre as we know them. The lyre is somewhat different in the way that it's held and the way it plays. Harps, as you know, are have a different structure and actually a different set of string courses and the way those work. The lyre, what it basically, you held it kind of like this and played it like this.
Yeah.
And usually only had, depending on the size of it, a lot of them are only depicted with about 6 or 7 strings. So actually, rather limited range unless they had some way of altering the pitch. So the reason it's usually translated harp in a lot of cases is just because people know what a harp is just off the top of their heads.
Makes sense. But so it's really interesting. So this guy's good at playing the lyre, and
I think
also hold on.
I mean, the traditional Jewish thing is I think it's called a kinnor. I think it's a kind of lyre that, if I remember correctly, had 10 strings and wasn't tuned to any specific key.
That's fantastic.
This is great for a music podcast. But I want to really point this out because it's just really intriguing. So, someone who's good at playing the lyre, a man of valor, a man of war, prudent in speech, and of good presence.
And a comely person.
Yes.
And the Lord is with him.
Yes, I understand. So, those kind of start to sound like Apollo. Because Apollo, he was known for playing the lyre. He was also a fucking archer. He was also known for giving people not divination, but he would he was associated with prophecy.
Yeah. Messagings.
Yeah. So I don't know. It sounds a little bit like Apollo.
I think
Maybe I'm stretching.
I think.
But it's,
No, you're not stretching. The parallels exist. The thing is that we need to remember is that this story was likely composed before their major contact with Greek civilization.
Yeah.
But the parallels still exist in that general sense, and I think it mostly just comes from the fact that in that day people just thought of gods very much in the same way, not in the most highly developed theology in the world.
Right. Like I just from like the timelines, like I'm pretty sure that I don't think one had effect on the other, but at least that there was like some
either shared
some like traditions about the nature of divinity.
The Zohar reads pretty much like the Vedas.
Okay, whatever.
Thanks.
Which is pretty much like Parmenides.
Thanks.
Which is pretty much like all of the works of William Shakespeare. Go on.
Wherefore Saul sent messengers unto Jesse and said, Send me David thy son, which is with the sheep. And Jesse took an ass laden with bread, and a bottle of wine, and a kid, and sent them by David his son to Saul. And David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly. He became his armor bearer. And Saul sent to Jesse, saying, Let David, I pray thee, stand before me. Wait, why is Saul back?
Because Saul,
Evil spirit.
Saul's about to, I guess, hand over his title as king.
No, Saul died.
Saul died.
There's actually two instances
Wait.
where David becomes king.
Wait, hold on.
In the text? Yeah.
That's amazing.
When did Saul die?
Literally at the end of the last chapter.
Yeah, he just died, dude.
And Samuel came no more to see Saul until the day of his death. Nevertheless, Samuel mourned for Saul.
Oh, okay.
Right? And here,
Totally forgot
this
about
chapter opens with mourning for Saul. And then it keeps up. It literally, just a few verses ago,
He died again.
The Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit of the Lord troubled him, in reference to Samuel. And now Saul is alive.
Yes.
And
Hooray!
He's okay.
That's
Saul
retarded.
sent to Jesse, saying, Let David, I pray thee, stand before me, for he hath found favor in my sight. And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took a harp and played with his hand, so Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him.
I feel like Venom Fang X would have a stupid apologetic for this about how, he had a fucking, like, his soul died for a little while.
How does your soul
This
die?
is like
I don't-
multiple stories just
A
smashed
spiritual
together.
death.
What the hell?
I mean, this is like Dadaism. Have you ever seen Dada? Where
No.
you cut out random words from magazine articles and just like throw them on a canvas, and there you go. It's art. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom liked that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's like. There's just like random story elements. People are dead. People are then not dead, and that.
Yeah, if you had like
garbage.
random news articles of the day and like the Queen died that day, you'd get more than one.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways.
That is the end
The end of that
of
chapter.
chapter 16.
And I gotta piss, so why don't you start us off?
No, I will. All right. So, if you haven't already, drop a like.
Share and subscribe.
Yes, share and subscribe. But especially click the share button because we have very low viewership right now. Only
And if we get
only 10.
10,000 subscribers, then our T-shirts will show up right
Yes.
by the description
Yes.
of the video.
That's true. At
So
10,000 subscribers, we get our
we will
Teespring
no
link on all
longer
our videos.
ever have to remind you about wacky and fun T-shirts.
Because they're just gonna be there in your face all the time. So, yeah, definitely share the stream around. So let's get started with chapter 17. And I am very excited for this one, although it's super fucking long.
You get the longest ones.
Yeah, whatever. Although it's super long, it is a fantastic story. A real classic. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it so hard.
Everyone knows this. This is that cutesy little kid story that we all learned in Sunday school.
Yes,
And we
and-
just forget the ending because kids don't need to learn about the nasty stuff.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, the adorable story of a midget slaughtering a mutant giant.
Yep.
Fucking adorable.
I love it when his concussion becomes lethal.
All right. No spoilers,
Oh,
motherfucker.
come on!
Okay. Now the Philistines gathered their armies for battle, and they were gathered at Sokoh. Which,
Okay, here's my interruption.
go ahead.
So, just a little bit about the Philistines. So, we've actually excavated a few sites from Philistine known areas. The Philistines, what we've actually discovered were actually some of the sea peoples, those peoples
Yes.
that wrecked the Bronze Age and helped lead to the civilization collapsing.
Now, I disagree with that hypothesis. I understand. I don't
Oh, really?
think, yes, I don't think they helped it at all. But if I am of the mindset that the sea peoples were a symptom of an already collapsing
Well,
world.
yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Actually, I do agree. Actually, where is it? Oh, it's down here. There's an excellent book out on it. 1177 BC, which is
Yeah.
all about the Bronze Age collapse. Yeah, I agree. They're definitely a symptom of it. But what we've discovered is that the Sea Peoples also were heavily responsible for its collapse because they wiped out the city of Ugarit. They attacked the Hittite capital. It looks like they also, as we all know, they attacked Egypt twice. They got repelled both times, but did heavy damage to it, and it never regained its former glory. Ugarit was really important when they destroyed that because Ugarit was actually one of the world's trade hubs.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
where tin and copper all went through, and that's how you make bronze. So when it collapsed, it actually ended one of the largest trade centers in the entire ancient Near East.
So the whole issue, at least with Egypt, I know there's one of the attacks. I am pretty sure was meant to be a migration because reliefs from that attack or about that attack depict women and children, and you wouldn't get that in a war setting.
Yeah.
So it's I am pretty confident that because the Sea Peoples are like a good portion of groups, like 9 different groups that we can like parse out,
Right.
and I think they all had different motivations. Obviously, like if you were to like be part of the Lucans, you'd be more interested in piracy. So I very much enjoy the Lucans.
It depends potentially because from the Egyptian texts we have actually indicate that they were part of a organized confederation.
I mean, probably a lot of smaller groups kind of gathered together and created like this larger this larger system, especially in the Mediterranean. It happened like a bunch of times.
Right. But anyways, one of the groups is the Peliset.
Yeah.
We now can safely identify them with the Philistines. And with the Philistines, we've excavated Gat, which is going to be brought up here numerous times, or Goth, however you particularly want to pronounce that. But one thing that we found is that they had a very unhealthy eating style. Two, they were heavily industrial. They actually produced lots of wine and a bunch of other things, actually on an industrial scale that is almost modern in its size.
That's pretty huge, especially for the time. That's crazy.
Yeah. So what we ended up figuring out is that they were probably actually really important. And another thing is that it looks like they took on Canaanite cult beliefs or religion when they came over there, because the more ritualistic shrines we found are actually almost identical to other Canaanite shrines, including ones that look and are described almost identically in the Bible as well.
That's pretty interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that one.
So Lawrence,
there's a great lecture on it from the Oriental Institute. You can just watch online. It's a really, really good one.
Awesome. What were you gonna ask, Chris? One?
Yeah, thanks. I'm not asking, but I guess I am. What number is on the screen for you, for how many people are watching?
10. How about for you?
27. That is wrong.
27. Wow, our thing is not updated.
It is not. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's not updated.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
But we had 31.
Yeah.
That's
for me, it's up to 28. So.
Oh, shit. All right.
Hey.
29.
That's a lot better than on our screen. The screen we see has 10, and it's been stable at 10 this whole fucking time. So I'm like, wow, what a bummer.
I'm like, it's a very active chat for having only 10 people.
Yeah. All right. Now, where was I? Philistines going in, preparing for some war. They were gathered at Soko, which belongs to Judah, and encamped between Soko and Azekah in Ephes Damim, and Saul and the men of Israel were gathered and encamped in the valley of Elah, and drew up in line of battle against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on the mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side, with a valley between them. So it's kind of like, I'm kind of picturing the gorge in The Simpsons. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I could pick any fucking canyon, but I'm going to choose to picture that one.
I'm going to choose to picture the Grand Canyon.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
I'm going to envision that big area where they tore orcs out of the ground in the Two Towers, Lord of the Rings.
Oh my goodness.
You do that one. All right, where the fuck was I? Valley between them. And there came out from the camp of the Philistines a champion named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. I'm not sure what a span is supposed to be.
It's less than a cubit.
Well, we do have some footnotes here. So apparently there are some manuscripts that say instead of 6, it was 4. And a cubit's about 18 inches. And then I still don't know what a span is.
A span was the distance from the tip of the thumb to the tip of the smallest finger of the hand fully spread.
Oh, okay.
So it's like,
So basically,
6.5 feet.
from here to...
Yeah. All right.
So he's like 6.5 feet tall.
All right. So pretty tall dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I like the translation of 6. It's like, let's just add like nearly 3 more feet.
Why not?
That is 3 more feet, yeah. He had a helmet of bronze on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze.
Now, is that meaning to say that it has 5,000 rings?
Well, it's
Or-
I don't know, but it
No,
says
shekels was a measurement of weight. I don't remember precisely.
that-
I got
It's
11
a,
grams.
I know that the shekels are a monetary thing, like dollars are a measurement of weight. Right?
Yeah,
But
I think
A shekel was between 7 and 17 grams or so.
between. Okay.
Bonzos. Good range.
Yeah. And he had bronze armor on his legs, and a javelin of bronze slung between his shoulders. Wait, what? That's weird. All right.
okay,
and
5,000 shekels of brass. So 5,000, if we assume, an average of 10 grams per shekel, then that's 50,000 grams. Is that
How
reasonable
many is that? I have no idea.
for a
How many pounds is that? I have no clue.
male shirt?
They're like,
Oh, Brian Steven asked, can we get this, his height in plank lengths?
It's about
you can.
110 pounds.
110. Wow.
Now, I could see that if it were full plate.
Yeah.
But just a coat of mail,
That's a lot. Huge.
maybe.
Huge.
I can say talk from personal experience dealing with plate mail and stuff like that for Renaissance fairs and stuff.
Yeah, gotcha.
That is not uncommon even for a guy like me, and I'm only about 5'10". So
For 100 pounds or more of mail in
Yeah.
a shirt?
yeah, mail's heavy, dude.
Yeah, I've worn mail before.
Me
but
too.
it
I
wasn't
no, never
very
that heavy.
Well, you guys wore aluminum mail. You guys,
the breastplate alone that I wore weighed 68 pounds.
That's
Yeah,
a
this
lot.
is-
Man. All right.
But why would you want a mail coat? Like,
It like a breastplate and pauldrons and stuff. So that's what they mean by it.
Okay.
as when I think of coat, I think of like something that's a little longer, maybe
no, guys,
waist
picture-
down into the knees.
They do such a good job describing him in the Bible that we have a great picture behind you guys.
Yeah, wonderful. Big dude. All right. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron.
Wow.
And his shield bearer went before him. Wow, this shield bearer must be fucking... Seriously. He stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why have you come out to draw up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? And are you not servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourselves and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants." Now, what a stupid deal.
Why would he agree to that?
I don't know. But if
It was actually not uncommon in ancient warfare to just, instead of having a huge bloodbath, do a champion battle instead. Basically, just to avoid unnecessary casualties, because generally lots of these battles were just between independent little towns. So it just wasn't really necessary to go out fighting huge battles and with tons of people dying, because otherwise you both just destroy yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, you know about the Greek myths, right? There's
Yeah.
tons of champion fights.
yeah.
Yeah, Troy with what's his name?
Achilles.
Achilles, yeah.
All right. Let's learn more about this giant-ass dude.
Okay.
If he is able to fight with... Oh, I already read that. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants and serve us. And the Philistine said, I defy the ranks of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of an Ephrathite of Bethlehem in Judah, named Jesse, who had 8 sons. In the days of Saul, the man was already old and advanced in age. Advanced in years. And this is the second introduction you were talking about, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the union of two different stories, actually.
Yeah. As is tradition.
Yep.
The 3 oldest sons of Jesse had followed Saul to battle, and the names of his 3 sons who went to battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and next to him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 eldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. For 40 days the Philistine came forward and took his stand morning and evening, just waiting for a challenger.
Fight me.
And Jesse said to David his son, "Take for your brothers an ephah of the parched grain, and these 10 loaves, and carry them quickly to the camp of your brothers. Also, take these 10 cheeses to the commander of their 1,000.
Take these assorted cheeses with you. You'll need them.
That reminds me of last episode. I forget the chapter, but they were like they brought a thing to someone. It was
Yes!
just listed as a
Oh
thing.
yeah. You shall go get a thing, right?
Yeah, you
when
shall
was
Come
it?
with us, and we shall show you
We
a
shall
thing.
show you a thing.
We shall show you a thing. My
Yeah.
God. So bad.
Yeah, that was
Well, assorted cheeses is a little nicer.
a little bit.
Kind of random.
So, also take these 10 cheeses to the commander of their 1,000. See if your brothers are well, and bring some token from them. Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose early in the morning, and left the sheep with a keeper, and took the provisions and went, as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the encampment as the host was going out to the battle line, shouting the war cry. And Israel and the Philistines drew up for battle, army against army. And David left the things in charge of the keeper of the baggage, and ran to the ranks, and went and greeted his brothers. As he
Mine has trenches. I'm not sure if they mean just the valley and figuratively referring to it as a trench.
No, this is trench warfare.
Or
Out of nowhere.
what? But that
I don't
wasn't
think-
in yours?
No, it was not. I just have valley. But I don't think trench warfare was like a thing that was happening back then.
Right, well, you would figure.
No.
Yeah.
Also, their armies
What about that
haven't-
artillery?
They're heavy artillery.
Yeah.
I'm a little
How are they gonna
confused
get
about
out of the way?
presentation here, because previously it had said that the armies had both gathered on the mountaintops, or sides of
Yeah.
the mountain,
Yeah.
right? And now it's saying that the army is gathering, but it's saying the army is gathering after it's already saying that the armies are fighting each other. Yeah, at this point for 40 days, when Goliath was just standing there and doing nothing.
Goliath is just like, I am waiting for a challenger while you all kill yourselves.
Yeah, I mean,
He
what-
could have
what
done
is
so
the
much. He
point?
could have just taken over at that point.
What is the point of sending out a champion if they're all
does
just
nothing.
gonna kill each other anyway?
Yeah, he should just be there helping with the
Hold
kills.
on. Fucking, I don't know, plot.
Plot armor.
Where the fuck was I? Battle line, shouting the war cry, army to army. David left the stuff and ran to his brothers. As he talked with them, behold!
Behold.
The champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, came up out of the ranks of the Philistines and spoke the same words as before, and David heard him. All the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were much afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel. And the king will enrich the man who kills him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel.
Wow.
Lot of promises.
Hey,
Wow,
I'd
this is
take
like
that
Kent
deal.
Hovind's dream.
Yeah,
Like no more. Mine actually notes how they'd be free from taxes.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. True freedom.
True freedom.
Now you just sound like Kent Hovind.
Well, Kent Hovind doesn't
he's the living
necessarily
man.
have the wrong political philosophy, just the wrong historical account.
He's the living man.
I am the living man protected by natural law.
Yeah, that was his whole thing. He was like sovereign citizen.
Yeah, well, you can be a sovereign citizen.
Congratulations.
Let's
I'm
continue.
thinking of taking advantage of my 164th Native American heritage to become a sovereign citizen. I think.
I've got closer Native American heritage than that. My great grandfather was a Cherokee. It looks like.
Ooh, my tribe doesn't use blood quotients, so they'll still accept me.
Anyways,
You're cheating.
Lawrence,
What?
continue.
Okay, I shall. And David said to the men who stood by him, "What shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?"
Now, how do they know that? How do they know he's circumcised or not?
He's just
he's
got
wearing-
his dick flopping over.
He's wearing a skirt thing in the armor there.
They can tell he's tall enough.
And the people answered him in the same way, "So shall it be done to the man who kills him." So it's really interesting. It's very like obvious that they're like, setting up. This doesn't happen in real life like ever. Like if there was like a problem in my life and I'd be like, "Oh no, this baby is falling out of this burning building. A lot of bad stuff going on. Like who will save this child?" And then a superhero comes running in, like the fucking Flash. That doesn't fucking happen. You don't set somebody up like that. It's like a fucking comic.
Cartoons lied to you.
How would the Flash running up into the building help
No, not into the building.
baby
No,
that
no,
just
the baby,
fell out
the
of a
baby
window
is
of a
falling,
building?
and he has to fucking run and grab it before it hits the ground.
That's right.
Like
the
running
Flash.
up the wall?
No, not up the fuck. No, like
You don't get
along
it.
the fucking street.
You don't get it.
So-
The baby falling at a normal speed. We'll give it that it fell like 30 stories, so maybe it's going up in acceleration a few times. It's falling relatively fast, but the Flash, he runs up there at like Mach 12 and completely obliterates
he
the
would
baby's
obliterate the
brain.
baby. But it's comic book stuff. So let's continue.
No, even in
But
the
actually,
comic
real
books.
quick, so one thing I want to note are actually other parallels with this story in particular. So we were talking earlier about how Apollo has some parallels with David and stuff. Do you guys think of any parallels that are with David and Goliath?
Well, I'm gonna go with at this point in the narrative, or just in general.
It's basically for the narrative of the battle with
Okay.
him and Goliath.
Well, they're both pretty much standing for their side.
Yep.
And
Thanks,
no,
Lawrence.
that's the only thing I can think of.
Wow, you're
I'm sure there's
terrible.
something else.
So
I mean,
can
they're
give you
almost
parallels,
exact opposites of each other.
There are two parallels you can find in the Iliad, Paris and Menelaus,
Paris, right?
and Hector and Ajax. There's an Egyptian parallel, which is called the story of Senuhe, or something like that. And then actually the Hittite apology of Hattusili III.
And it's all like giant versus not giant.
It's not a giant, but it's the idea of basically this divinely chosen ruler who's good, or a very important figure who's fights the champion of the enemy, and then the enemy's armies flee,
Gotcha. Okay.
stuff like that. So
Now, Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, "Why have you come down? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness?" Because that's the important part. "I know your presumption and the evil of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle. Wow, what a dick of a brother.
Yeah.
Just assumes he's like super evil.
You're evil.
And David said, "What have I done now? Was it not but a word?" And he turned away from him toward another, and spoke in the same way. And the people answered him again as before. When the words that David spoke were heard, they repeated them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, "Let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with the Philistine." And Saul said to David, "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight him, for you are but a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth." How could they possibly know that?
Because they're awesome and they know more backstory than you do.
Look,
Everyone knows that the Israelites themselves are more omniscient than God.
Obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
But, like, I mean, here, David and Goliath are clearly opposites of each other. I mean, in the previous chapter, they even went out of their way to say that when Samuel was looking through Jesse's sons, he found one who was big and strong and good looking and all that, and God's like, no, I don't want that one. And here you get Goliath, who is that character. Goliath is very courageous. He goes out and he makes his speech and he stands there waiting for a challenger while there's a fucking war going on all around him. And David's just kind of like a meek musician who plays lullabies for Saul. So
And takes care of his
Well,
his sheep.
actually, he doesn't right now because we're now in the second narrative, so he's not doing anything for Saul right now.
Of course, of
Oh,
course.
hot dog. Hey, so let me put it this way. Something weird that obviously, I'm sure it's not intended, but phrasing is very poor, and just wondering, how come they think they can't have a person who's been fighting since their youth and saying, David, you can't go fight as a youth. That guy's been fighting since he's a youth. You can't do what he's doing. Like, yes, you can. He did it. That's how he did it. No, that's dumb. You can't say you can't go out and fight as a child and then use the example that the guy he shouldn't
as a
be
child?
fighting has been fighting since he was a
but
child.
I think the point was
This is a
that
dumb
there
point.
is- No, I think
point
you're
that
missing the point.
Goliath is way more experienced.
Yeah, Goliath is
I
way more
understand.
experienced.
I understand that he's way more experienced, but how else is David gonna get that experience from you
Well,
if he
maybe
doesn't
Probably
start
not.
now?
Probably by like killing people who don't have all that experience.
Yeah,
Like
well, not
building up.
not trying to kill people that have 100-some-odd-pound armor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if I were,
Go big or go home.
I can't just like walk into like a WWE ring and go like, Brock Lesnar, I challenge you.
You can, but you'll lose.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I wouldn't do that. That would be fucking stupid.
You don't want to lose?
That's not the first thing I would do if I got into a ring.
I think what we have here is the first instance of David being what will be a trend later, an idiot.
Yeah. God damn it, Chris.
Sorry, I just got him out.
Sorry, I mean Chris won. Okay. Let's continue here. Where was I? Yeah, where the fuck was I?
You were down at 30.
30? Okay. What have I done now? He turned away. He turned away from him toward another, and he spoke in the same way, and the people answered him again as before. When the words that David spoke were heard... wait, hold on. No, I passed that. And Saul said to David, you are not able to go fight against them. But Saul said... Oh, okay. But David said to Saul, your servant used to keep sheep for his father. And when there came a lion or a bear and took a lamb from the flock, I went after him and struck him and delivered it out of his mouth. And if he arose against me, I caught him by the beard and struck him and killed him. Your servant has struck down both lions and bears, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living God. And David said, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." And Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." So that
May
was,
the force be with
yeah,
you.
may the force be with you. Very easy to change his mind. Just say you killed other things before.
No, it's like,
Hey,
you
Saul's
can't
batshit
possibly
insane,
do
though.
that. Yeah, I can. Okay.
We've had that argument before, though.
Yeah. Then Saul clothed David with his armor. He put a helmet of bronze on his head
He doesn't
and
need
clothed
that.
him with a coat of mail. And David strapped his sword over his armor, and he tried in vain to go, for he had not tested them. Then, wait, I'm confused. Oh, he
Oh,
didn't
you're
test his
confused.
stuff. Then David said to Saul, "I cannot go with these, for I have not tested them." So David put them off. Then he took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in his shepherd's pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine. And the Philistine moved forward and came near to David, with his shield bearer in front of him. And when the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, rudely and handsome in appearance.
That's a little gay there.
Yeah, a little
Why?
bit. And the Philistine said to David, "I am a dog that you come to me with..." Oh, wait. "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" And
Yes, bow wow.
Bow wow. And the Philistine cursed David by his gods.
You know, quarterstaves really fucking hurt when you get hit in the head by them.
I bet.
Yeah.
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 I wouldn't be laughing at sticks.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, and holy shit, I don't want to break any bones.
You know, am I the only one thinking of that Looney Tunes episode where he's Robin Hood and he has the quarterstaff, Daffy Duck, and he's like, "Actually, it's a buck and a quarterstaff, but I'm not telling him that."
I don't know if I ever saw that episode.
I'm not sure.
I've
There's
seen
too-
it at some point.
Oh
There's
man,
too
you
many.
guys-
Too many,
Yes.
man.
We're disappointments. We already knew that. The Philistine said to David, "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field." Then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." So a little more of that war god stuff showing through.
Yep.
This day the Lord, I just totally, my eyes did a fucking skip.
Good
This
job.
day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the host of the Philistines this day to the birds of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Because
Because your ability to kill some guy and allow animals to eat his body proves beyond the shadow of a doubt that there's a God of Israel.
And what I really love is how this kind of reminds me of something. So it's not like directly related, but when evangelicals, when fundamentalists say, you know, if there is no God, how did fucking all this shit happen? And it's like, are you fucking stupid? I don't think it did happen.
Yeah, obviously, they have no idea the power of a slingshot. I do. I've actually used a slingshot. You can embed rocks in trees with that thing.
Well, this is a sling, so it's not.
Well, you can do it with.
Yeah.
When I say slingshot, I don't typically mean that, but an actual sling. The ancient slingers were actually known for just how powerful they could actually pitch a stone.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like a lacrosse thing?
It's like you take basically cloth
Oh, okay.
Three
Put a
ropes
stone
Gotcha.
in it.
tied to a cloth holder, which is
Gotcha.
then accelerated by spinning
Okay.
around rapidly and then releasing one of the strings to allow it to fling out in the chosen direction.
Gotcha. Okay. So he's gonna kill a
Sling
bunch of
'em.
people. Yep. And that all this assembly may know that the Lord saves not with sword and spear. You know, consider,
But with sling.
But with sling, yeah, that. And how about all the other times
When he
God
did
is
it
like
with sword and
going
spear.
to war?
And kill people with swords and spears.
Yeah, no.
Unless they have chariots. Ooh.
Whoa!
Not those damn iron chariots.
Yeah.
But, like,
For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand.
so I'm just getting the image in my head. David's down there with his sling. It's like, all right. Starts winding up the sling. Ready to fight Goliath. Accidentally lets go. Rock goes flying off. Hits Saul in the head. Saul's dead now. And the story can have proper continuity. If they don't mention... Oh, they mention Saul later. It can't be canon.
It can't be canon. When the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. A lot of shit's about to go down. We're about to see some shit go down, guys.
Yeah, he's going to throw one rock.
Shut up.
Okay.
And David put his hand in his bag and took out a stone and slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into the forehead, into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the ground.
Well, that really killed him.
So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. There was no sword in the hand of David. Then David ran and stood over the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of
Ow.
his sheath and killed him and cut off his head with it. Then the Philistines saw that their champion was dead. They fled. And the men of Israel and Judah rose with a shout and pursued the Philistines as far as Gath. Oh, that's kind of ironic that they're going to his hometown.
Yeah.
Well, not ironic, but it's spinning in his face. Salt in the wound, in the dead wound, and the gates of Ekron.
You know, Goliath did nothing wrong. He tried to find the most peaceful way to settle the problem between these two groups of people.
Willing to put his own life on
Willing
the
to
line.
put his own life on the line.
So here's an actual interesting thing. So at our excavation of Goth, we've actually found evidence of a destruction layer around this exact same time, around the 9th or 8th century BC.
I mean, there were plenty of wars. Like my interpretation of a good amount of this stuff, for the Deuteronomistic history, it's more like, oh, what can we remember about this stuff, and then how can we, throw God in there a bunch of times.
Yeah, a bit of it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have Herodotus yet.
Well, no. At the time it was written, actually, no, they wouldn't have had Herodotus, but Herodotus was around.
Yeah.
But
Well, he was around. He would have when this was.
He would have
being
been dead,
written,
but
he
he-
would have been close to a century after this
Yeah,
was
yeah.
being composed. But yeah, Herodotus. Now that you brought him up.
nice.
But they didn't have Herodotus.
Right, they wouldn't have had it. Probably not.
No.
They could have really benefited from having Herodotus.
Right? It's like, no. This is how you write history. So it's man, I was gonna say something else, but then I totally forgot.
Yeah, you're not very profound.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
That's
not.
deep, man.
This is so deep.
Wells.
Isn't
Wells are
that
deep.
just the great existential crisis facing us all?
Oh, here's the other thing I was gonna say. And then like for a good amount of the Torah stuff, I think it was allegorical, like a lot of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. And when you look at their traditions about it, it's not. And when you look at the way ancient Near Eastern people read these things, it's not like they were ever reading these things as though they were literal history.
Yeah.
Like,
That's my whole thing. Like, I don't think they ever like took this stuff literally. Like, I think
No.
they just like believed in like some general kind of ancient Near Eastern creation myth.
yeah.
And it's like nothing. It's just another version of that stuff.
I think you're wrong because there are people alive today
Yes.
who believe that
Help.
in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void and darkness.
I am sure.
And
I am sure.
so-
Yes, I know.
I'm sure
there
that
are,
there
but
were-
I mean, but the funny thing is that they're kind of a new breed of people. When you go back, so Thomas Aquinas said that Genesis was an allegory. Augustine of Hippo actually said that it should be taken as allegory. Jews, as far back as memory can serve them, said it was an allegory.
Right, but they had to make the statement that it should be interpreted as allegory for a reason, and it's likely that they would only say that because people were not interpreting it as allegory. Otherwise,
Right.
why bring it up?
Well, yeah, to a degree, but then it's also because especially later on, people became just completely invested in particularly proper interpretation of scripture. So, of course, every scholar of the time was like, no, this is how you should interpret it. So, of course, they're going to note that this should be interpreted as allegory because that's part of their view. It doesn't really actually end up correlating to there being people that believe it was true, just that this is how this particular scholar thought it should be read.
See, I just have to imagine that there are some people out there.
There were
throughout-
definitely people that did believe it was true, though.
Well,
Definitely.
what I mean is that there are some people out there, even at the time of Aquinas, who wouldn't necessarily have any education other than what they heard a priest say.
Right.
So
And-
unless
yeah,
that priest
and it-
specifically said it's allegory.
Yeah. That's definitely true. And there were definitely people that did believe in these things were true stories. I think it was Josephus that recounts there were actual attempts to find Noah's Ark and stuff. I think it was Josephus. There was some scholar around the early time there that was talking about it. So yeah, there were actual people who did actually believe that stuff happened, but it was not the people who wrote it.
Right. Yeah. All right. Fucking dude's dead.
Hooray!
And where the hell was I now?
I don't know. You
Okay.
done?
Yeah. When?
You're at 52.
Am I at 52?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And they fled, and the men of Israel and Judah. Okay, yeah, fuck it, I'll keep going. And the men of Israel and Judah rose with a shout and pursued the Philistines as far as Gath and the gates of Ekron, so that the wounded Philistines fell on the way from Sharaim as far as Gath and Ekron. And the people of Israel came back from chasing the Philistines, and they plundered their camp. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. That sounds like an unnecessary detail, but okay.
Hey man,
Just doesn't-
over
just doesn't
100
seem
fucking
important.
pounds of mail. I mean,
And a bunch of other stuff, I guess.
it's a good
Whatever.
trophy.
When
As soon as Saul saw David go out against the Philistine, he said to Abner, the commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is this youth?" And Abner said, "As your soul lives, O king, I do not know." And the king said, "Inquire whose son the boy is." And as soon as David returned from the striking down of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, "Whose son are you, young man?" And David answered, "I am the son of your servant, Jesse, the Bethlehemite."
wow, you've made it sound more epic than it was.
Good.
It's actually
There's
it
no
is kind of like a
Samuel.
little epic way to end the chapter, though. I'm the son of Jesse of Bethlehem. End. It's like classic TV,
Mic
end
drop.
credits
Yes.
roll.
It's like I'm creating a cliffhanger. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm doing. All right, so that was chapter 17.
If you enjoyed the stream, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Share this with all of your friends, family, neighbors, ex-girlfriends, estranged children, old people that you know with dementia, homeless people on the streets, You can feel free to send mail to us. We aren't going to give you an address, but you can feel free to try. Please worship us. And
if you believe that the audio you hear from us in the room over that you're trapped in, you could communicate with others by tapping on the wall with a spoon in Morse code. If you believe that can get more subscribers for us, please do that. Thank you.
yes.
Also, how many viewers are we at?
Oh, I have no idea. We were at 30 before.
Okay, because we're still at 10 for me.
Yeah, it's never going to update over there until I do something.
That's a bummer.
And I'm not doing that over there.
Right.
So just a real quick thing in the comments section, they're actually having a little debate over the size of slingshot
We're
rounds.
still at 30.
I can actually tell you because I have actually handled some ancient slingshot remains myself.
That's awesome.
They range from about that size, a little bit like that. I've seen some that were about like that though.
So that
I've
there's a
actually
good little
handled them.
range in there, yeah.
Basically, the idea is anything large enough to hurt someone,
And
you just throw it
and
in
you have
a
to be able
sling.
to throw it, yeah.
Yeah.
And remember,
Yeah.
they could be disc-shaped, so they're not necessarily spherical. They're riverbed rocks, so they're probably going to be flattened on the bottom and top of the rock. They're not necessarily spherical.
Well,
And
that would
actually,
explain why it sank into his skull.
yeah, that would explain why it sank into his skull, though.
Like
Because
a
if it's
fucking
a
frisbee.
flat edge, like
Yeah.
a frisbee, it'll just get walloped
Yeah,
in
all
there.
those nice discs.
Yeah.
All right. But definitely make sure you guys share the scream. Scream.
Scream!
The
Ah!
The scream.
Share that scream! Ah!
Because maybe if enough people are
Hear our
watching,
scream.
it'll fucking overload and it'll fix the damn thing here. But anyways, chapter 18, and we are going to hand this one over to our guest, Chris.
Yay, you get to listen to my sultry voice.
Oh, yeah.
Chapter 18.
I'm gonna get
After
Mountain
David
Dew.
had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic and even his sword, his bow, and his belt. Whatever mission Saul went on, David was so successful that Saul gave him a high rank in the army. This pleased all the troops and Saul's officers as well. When the men were returning home after David had killed the Philistine, the women came out from all the towns of Israel to meet King Saul with singing and dancing, with joyful songs and with timbrels and lyres. As they danced, they sang, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands."
Ooh, so this is a much bigger improvement.
Oh yeah.
This guy's way better.
Yeah. Why is Jonathan
So
Jonathan stripping himself naked and giving his stuff to David?
Why aren't you?
So there is
That's
actually
a good idea.
there's actually an argument out right now. Ivan, I think his name's Ivan Dershinovitz, or something like that. Don't quote me. I am terrible at pronouncing Eastern European names, but he actually just put out a paper on how the passages in Leviticus that are expressly condemning homosexuality may have actually not been original.
Yeah.
And that it may have actually incidentally supported it. Digital Hammurabi actually did a video on it.
Yeah.
And you can read the paper on that guy's academia.edu page, and it's going to be published in a journal here soon.
Yeah,
If not already.
So we've had Josh from that channel on. Great guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great channel too. They do some awesome stuff. So I still need to actually fucking sit down and start their series on Hebrew, because they're doing a series on like this is how you read biblical Hebrew. So I need to actually start that.
If you want to like teach yourself Hebrew too, or just like start with basics, Handbook of Biblical Hebrew by Lesor is a really good one. absolutely excellent.
Yeah, I was trying to like find like a one that is actually useful because there were like a bunch of things on Amazon, but I'm like, how do I like?
Well, here it's easy. It goes Aleph, Bet, Vet, Gimel, Daled, Hey, Vav, Zayin,
Okay,
Chet,
whatever.
Tet, Yud, Chaf, Kaf, Lamed, Men, Nun,
Okay.
Samech,
Stop it.
Thanks, Ruben. All right, let's continue with the undressing, I guess.
Okay,
So-
where I left off right after he kills tens of thousands.
Yes.
Saul was very angry. This refrain displeased him greatly. They have credited David with tens of thousands. So egotism much,
Yeah.
he thought. But me only thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom? And from that time on, Saul kept a close eye on David. The next day, an evil spirit from God came forcefully on Saul. He was prophesying in his house while David was playing the lyre, as he usually did. Saul had a spear in his hand, and he hurled it, saying to himself, "I'll pin David to the wall," but David eluded him twice.
Oh,
Saul
man.
was
You know,
afraid of...
when I was was googling stuff on David, I saw like this, the image of Saul holding the spear against David, and I was like, man, I really want to use that, but it was also like in the same section with David and Goliath, and I'm like, I gotta go with David and Goliath. That's just more of a staple.
No,
But it's a real bummer because I love the artwork. Like I just
Yeah.
love that imagery, and it's really interesting that. So this isn't supposed to be demon possession.
No,
Evil
this
spirit.
is, I believe, earlier on, somewhere in the Torah.
I remember
There was a dark spirit.
There was this darkness that just kind of was there.
Showed up
and then,
once.
Yeah, we never
and-
heard of it
And then we
again.
never heard about it again.
Yeah.
Now this evil spirit
I think it
thing
was like
popped
in
up in the chapter.
Bethel, right? Like after Jacob's dream, I think.
I think so.
I think it was right after that.
But this evil spirit thing popped up earlier in the reading too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And earlier it seemed like it was a
I'm-
reference to like an emotional state. Like,
There's going to be another one that's brought up as well in the Book of Kings.
Gotcha.
I actually have a paper out on this. It's currently in submission to a journal, but it's all on the role. It's on the role of Satan and how his role changes throughout the Bible. But there's the evil spirit in the Book of Kings is not called Satan by name, but functions very much like him, but is also described as an evil spirit and a spirit of lies and deceit and stuff like that.
What I really love about the nature of Satan is like in the New Testament, like you start off like because at some point like they're just kind of I actually made like a video on this about Judas Iscariot, and how he was kind of seen as like a figure for Judah, and they were like, oh, these fucking evil bastards. And then later, when Satan has to enter into him, or into Judas, and then even before that, they just after that, they just equate him with Satan. So Judas goes from just being like a misled follower to like a disloyal friend to possessed by Satan to just being Satan.
I thought that Judas was supposed to be possessed by the Holy Spirit so that he could put into effect the crucifixion and thus create the miracle of the resurrection.
Well, I haven't heard that one, but
That's one interpretation. I prefer the Gnostic interpretation in the Gospel of Judas.
yeah, that one is a good one. Like he's the only guy that got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Only guy that understood Jesus. All the rest of them were just flat out wrong.
All right,
No
but
true Jesus.
no true Jesus. All right, let's continue with Saul being super jealous and really paranoid.
Mad
Stab
jelly.
him hard.
Fucking foreshadowing.
Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with David but had departed from Saul. So he sent David away from him and gave him a command over 1,000 men. And David led the troops in their campaigns. In everything he did, he had great success because the Lord was with him. When Saul saw how successful he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David because he led them in their campaigns. Saul said to David, "Here is my older daughter Merab. I will give her to you in marriage. Only serve me bravely and fight the battles of the Lord." For Saul said to himself, "I will not raise a hand against him. Let the Philistines do that." But David said to Saul, "Who am I, and what is my family or my clan in Israel, that I should become the king's son-in-law?" So when the time came for Merab, Saul's daughter, to be given to David, she was given in marriage to Adriel of Melah.
So
Now Saul.
this is
yep.
kind of the start of we're really getting into the start of the obviously the start of the monarchy, and it's I feel like this is kind of like the beginning of the tradition of like, oh, the children should be part of the Davidic line, and they shouldn't really what's the word I'm looking for?
Who knows?
Fucking, I forget the word I'm looking for.
Well, I mean, the issue is, of course, that inheritance, genetic inheritance at least, has only really been brought up in terms of like you getting your parents' stuff when they die, and also for the purpose of keeping track of tribes because they're just named after who they supposedly descend from. But if you have a kind of like prophesying or seership or anything like that that's passed down generationally, well, then Abraham, whose descendants are all of these characters, they should all have those inherited traits.
Superpowers.
The seership, the being able to see the future, the special superpowers. So it can't be a genetic thing that's passed down, right?
Well, no, not that. I'm just saying that this is like kind of like, oh, here's the importance of David. He is somehow different. He is he should be doing his own thing instead of like mixing with Saul's bloodline.
What?
Something like that. I don't know.
Well, I thought that the point was that he was being humble, like my family.
Well, I mean,
is
It's more that
obvious.
he's showing his respect and his humbleness because he's not of any royal lineage.
Sure.
Generally, lords in the ancient Near East, they'd marry their sons and daughters off to other royalty,
Right.
because then you create unions. It's the same thing that happened throughout all of history, really.
But that would be opposed to everything that the Jews have stood for up until this point, where like they specifically talk about putting people to death for race mixing earlier, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
That shit is like so.
Well,
that
except
shit's
for
so
Egyptians
crazy.
and Edomites, because they're your brothers. So the only thing that happens is you become unclean for like 7 years if you marry them.
Just
that's what happens
Alright,
when
well-
you marry your brother.
All right. Well, let's keep going with this.
All right.
Okay. Now Saul's daughter Michal was in love with David, and when they told Saul about it, he was pleased. "I will give her to him," he thought, "so that she may be a snare to him, and so that the hand of the Philistines may be against him." So Saul said to David, "Now you have a second opportunity to become my son-in-law." Then Saul ordered his attendants speak to David privately and say, "Look, the king likes you, and his attendants all love you. Now become his son-in-law." They repeated these words to David, but David said, "Do you think it is a small matter to become the king's son-in-law? I am only a poor man and little known." He is not little known.
Yeah,
All
not
of
little.
Israel
He-
loves you.
He's killed tens of thousands.
Yeah.
And Saul is really salty about that. Saul
And
is
you've been
salty.
leading the campaigns, and it literally says all of them love you. I
Yeah.
don't know
All
what
of
he's
them.
talking about.
Hold on. Can we get a hashtag salty Saul going in the chat?
Salty Saul.
Yeah. I want to see some of that. But let's go on.
No, you can't have anything.
When Saul's servants told him what David had said, Saul replied, "Say to David, the king wants no other price for the bride than 100 Philistine foreskins to take revenge on his enemies." Saul's plan was to have David fall by the hands of the Philistines.
Boy, do I love this one.
This is actually another one. We have actual evidence that they would do stuff like this. If I remember correctly, it's the Egyptians.
Yeah, the Egyptians.
We have like these little pits that were like full of dismembered hands and things.
Yeah.
And found out that that's what the pharaohs would do. Is okay, if you can prove to me you killed some guys, I give you like a little bonus or whatever. So they chopped off the hands. Other ones they do, chop off noses and then chop off dicks and foreskins because you only got one of those, so you can't like try and get two for the same price.
Well, also because if you cut off the foreskin, then that serves as proof that it wasn't a Jew that you killed.
Right. That too.
And it's really this is as you're talking about the Egyptian pharaohs. I think I forget if it was Merneptah or Ramses III who had a specific account of them doing that.
I believe it was Merneptah.
Okay. I knew it was one of the two. But yeah, like right after I think it was the Libyan War, he was like, "Well, I want to count all these bodies. I'm going to cut off the hands of the circumcised." Or sorry, that
Salty Saul. Like,
yeah, no, I
like
get it.
P.S.
Like Psalms. Yeah, no, I get it.
I get it. Good one. All
right.
You're a preferred
When he said
customer.
salty, I was thinking immediately of Salty the Songbook.
Oh, okay, of course.
Yeah, I think of that, and then I think Hugo and Jake and Bible Reload. So that's like right where my brain goes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay,
So cutting off some stuff here. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I had to do a skip once.
We're
with this, remember?
we're almost through. So, when the attendants told David these things, he was pleased to become the king's son-in-law. So before the allotted time elapsed, David took his men with him and went out and killed 200 Philistines and brought back their foreskins.
Yep.
They counted out the full number to the king so that David might become the king's son-in-law. Then Saul gave him his daughter Michal in marriage. When Saul realized that the Lord was with David and that his daughter Michal loved David, Saul became still more afraid of him and remained his enemy the rest of his days. The Philistine commanders continued to go out to battle, and as often as they did, David met with even more success than the rest of Saul's officers, and his name became well known.
All right.
The end.
So that is the end of chapter 18, and that is the last chapter we're going to read for today. And it's just really interesting. He's like, take my daughter. He gets, David gets his daughter.
Oh
and
no,
then
David
he's-
has to be extra grotesque.
No,
too.
right. He does. But either way, he gets Saul's daughter, but then Saul is mad about it. He's like, this was my idea, but I am just regretting it. Because he thought that like if David were to get with her, then somehow the God would be all like, I don't want you in your relationship, I guess.
Thank you, Ellis,
Yes, thank you, Ellis.
for David and Michal's wedding.
Yes, thank you. That is going right to their fund.
Right to the cesspool.
Yes, right to the cesspool.
All right. Well, no, I think it's an important point that he does go out of his way. He kills 200 of them.
Yeah, that's 100 more than
That's
he was asked
twice
for.
what he was asked to do. And that's frowned on in other areas. For example, when Moses hits the rock with his staff. That's overdoing it, so it's a bad thing, right?
In one of
Because
those stories.
it wasn't what was commanded.
Oh, and also,
Thank you, DB Cisco.
yes.
3 times in a row.
Three
Three
times.
times in
That's
a row.
3 666s.
Wow, you're
Whoa.
just
DB today. Thank you.
rolling in.
David sucks. Jonathan. Lol. Yep. I'm sure he wants to.
Wow, that's a fist bump animation.
bump. Oh,
All
that's
right.
right. We did have one of those.
Yeah.
So we've got a guest.
Yes, we've got a guest.
Yeah.
What does he want to say about stuff before we
All
wrap
right.
up?
Yeah. You got any closing comments?
Not many. Only that I'd love to come back on again sometime. I had a lot of fun here.
Well, thank you.
Excellent.
We're glad you had fun. I thought maybe it'd be too lowbrow, because it's always really hard to tell. Because there are like a lot of people, that because we make a lot of different kinds of content. Like we have the scholarly content, and then we have more fun, and there are people who like really hate one or the other.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to find people that are like, okay, let's talk about some smart things, but also have fun while doing it. Let's not make it like super dry and boring.
Like those fucking analytic philosophers. The worst kind of philosophers.
Okay, if you say so.
Are you still butthurt about that thing from this week, Ruben?
Wait, what happened this week? Is it story time with Ruben? What happened?
No.
I got in an argument with Richard Carrier.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah,
Because he
he's
doesn't know
still butthurt.
what empiricism
He's
is,
still
and he doesn't
butthurt.
know what rationalism is, and he doesn't understand that there's a field of like intuitionistic logic. Like he just needs to read more philosophy.
I'm right now waiting. I have a paper out that I just released, and it's a refutation of Richard Carrier's argument for Zalmoxis being a dying and rising deity.
No.
I'm waiting for that to make its way back to him.
Hey,
But,
I can.
especially judging from his history of insulting everyone that criticizes him.
We don't like to make fun of him or poke the sleeping beast too much. But
mean,
definitely have to agree with his.
I'm
with
gonna.
that.
Yeah, that's true. If we consider the whole Ehrman thing, yeah.
Yep.
And Maurice Casey and Holzman and numerous others.
Yep.
Yeah.
He has a little bit of a temper.
Yeah.
I'm actually rereading his book for the 4th time.
It's a
Right
good
now.
book.
It is good.
Yeah.
It's good, but I have numerous. As you can see by the red notes, I have many things I disagree with him on. But actually, I was gonna say you guys, I'm actually possibly gonna mention you guys when I'm in my debate with Godless Engineer. I watched you guys' video on Josephus.
Oh, okay.
Excellent.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, the Josephus.
I did make some like blatant mistakes that I just didn't check on, like saying there was like a year 0. Like that one was just a stupid one that I should have just checked up on.
Dumbass.
There's one thing I'm going to mention, and it's actually you note that it's really uncommon the way he actually formats James, brother of the Lord, in there, and that doesn't look like something Josephus would do. When you look at it in all the numerous other ways he does it, he always does name and the brother of after.
Yeah.
Name epithet. I actually found a few cases where it's actually reversed though, so actually it is consistent with Josephus. It's just not as common.
All right.
For my Josephus thing, I'm actually going to be going down into the Greek for the debate. So,
Hey, excellent.
That's what's needed, honestly.
And I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily just call myself a mythicist, but I think that the evidence for historical Jesus is like they really overplay it.
yeah, especially Christian side really overplays it. But I'm on the Bart Ehrman side of historical Jesus, like a minimal historical Jesus that got mythicized a lot later on.
I think we can get to a.
I mean,
I think we can get to a Jesus figure from like apocalypticism and Hellenism.
Personally,
Like,
I make the assumption that for any myth that exists, there is something that it's loosely based on.
Well, sure. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
like I think it was. I don't think like somebody just made up a Jesus like one day. They were like, let's just do this. Like I think it was like an inorganically evolved like ideology.
Like telephone.
Yeah.
Yeah, like telephone kinda.
Yeah.
2,000 years
Like-
later.
Wow,
But that's
I
a-
heard that Jesus guy sailed a lot. Really? Well, I heard that he could run on the water. Huh, he didn't run. He could walk on that shit.
He couldn't run though. He could just walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, DB Cisco said Dr. Robert Price is far better IMHO. I agree. I actually really like Robert Price. He's really friendly and
Yeah.
nice guy, and B, I actually find his arguments a lot stronger.
I think we've
than
all met him
Claire's.
too, haven't we?
Yeah. We've met Rob.
He's a nice guy, yeah.
Yeah, he is a really nice guy.
Honestly, if you don't get on Richard's bad side, though, he's not that bad either.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard's fine.
He's fine.
He just calls every philosopher he
He
disagrees
doesn't agree with
an armchair philosopher.
or a
and-
loon or something.
Or a
Yeah.
loon.
Yeah.
Or a liar.
And he's like,
Right.
oh, if you don't agree with my presuppositions, you're insane. Which is
A bit much.
ridiculous.
And it's really weird because watching how different that is from the way he acted in his talk with Sargon.
Mm.
Because like in that talk, like Sargon was the guy that was, going like way too aggressive, and Richard was the guy who was like, wait, let's bring it back. Let's talk about this stuff.
Yeah,
Like, it's
I think that Sargon is just a little too edgy, like, in the classical sense.
All right, but anyways, we're getting into something totally different. Thank you guys for watching. Definitely go check out Chris's channel, Bible History Skeptics, right?
Yep.
Go check out that channel.
And
there's-
read his publications once they get, published.
Once I start writing papers, we are partnered up with Sherm Journal, so I could probably get a paper published in there when they start.
You can actually find my papers on my academia.edu
That works.
page. I upload all of them for free for everyone to read. So
Good shit.
Thanks.
That is also what I was going to plan to do, but I needed them I guess I don't need them published. I can just put them on there. Okay. Yeah. All right.
And we
So-
got to start editing that book that you're
That
writing.
that too.
That book.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
That book that you've been spending a
yes,
lot of time
I know.
writing.
Okay. There's a lot of shit that I gotta fucking read through.
We should just hang out and do nothing after this.
Yeah. You should go put some more coals on after.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Why are we still chatting up
I
the
don't
stream?
fucking know.
Say
So,
goodbye, you
Goodbye,
guys.
everybody, and we will see you next Sunday.
Da, 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 da.